Turning to a story that is making headlines around the world, an unprecedented, albeit controversial, new discovery is shedding light on a mystery that dates back millennia, many millennia.
For more than 4,500 years, the mysterious Anunnaki have captivated the imagination of humanity, appearing in myths, legends, and ancient Mesopotamian records. These enigmatic beings are said to have descended from the heavens, shaping the course of human history. Remarkably, the Sumerians didn't describe them as mere deities. They recorded them as real, flesh and blood entities, wielding advanced technology, governing the earliest cities on Earth, and even manipulating the very genetics of humankind. Now, after millennia of speculation, scientists are finally uncovering what the Anunnaki really were. Today, we dive into the astonishing truth. Emerging around 4,500 BCE in the fertile plains of Mesopotamia, the Sumerians laid the foundations for human civilization as we know it. They invented cuneiform writing, the world's first known script, by 3,200 BCE. They established codified laws, engineered complex irrigation systems, constructed towering ziggurats, and pursued advanced astronomical studies. Visionaries like Enheduanna, history's first named author, and legendary rulers like Gilgamesh, whose epic predates Homer by over 1,000 years, showcase the depth of Sumerian influence. Yet, there's a striking paradox. While their technological and cultural contributions are celebrated, their records of human origins and interactions with the Anunnaki are often dismissed as myth. Archaeological discoveries at sites like Ur, Uruk, Eridu, and Nippur reveal a society far more sophisticated than we often credit, with artifacts from Sir Leonard Woolley's 1922 excavation of Ur's royal cemetery, including the Standard of Ur, intricate jewelry, and musical instruments, demonstrating advanced social structures, trade networks, and religious practices. The clay tablets recovered from these sites, now in world-class museums, contain detailed accounts of the Anunnaki, beings who, according to the Sumerians, descended from the heavens and played a decisive role in shaping humanity. Texts like the Enuma Elish and the Epic of Gilgamesh describe a pre-flood era where gods and humans interacted directly, echoing themes later found in biblical and Quranic traditions. Researchers such as Zecharia Sitchin argue these references point to extraterrestrial beings who may have intervened in human evolution, possibly even through genetic manipulation. Meanwhile, scholars like Samuel Noah Kramer, one of the 20th century's most respected Assyriologists, stressed that the Sumerians themselves claimed to receive knowledge from these divine figures. His studies of texts like the Instructions of Shuruppak and the Sumerian King List reveal a recurring theme: civilization, kingship, and order as gifts from the heavens. Yet, despite this, when Sumerian texts describe human origins or the Anunnaki, they are labeled myth, even though the same tablets meticulously record commercial transactions, legal codes, and medical prescriptions. This selective interpretation suggests a bias in how we evaluate ancient sources. If we gave their historical narratives the same credibility we give their technological achievements, our understanding of human history would transform, moving away from a simple linear progression to a far more intricate story of civilization. Recent genetic studies, including work by Robert Schoch and David Reich, reveal unexpected complexities in human ancestry, with admixture events that challenge the conventional timeline of evolution. Meanwhile, discoveries like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, dated to around 9,600 BCE, suggest advanced human activity far earlier than previously believed, aligning closely with ancient Sumerian records. The discovery of the Sumerian tablets in 1849 by British archaeologists, including Austin Henry Layard at Nineveh, marked a revolutionary moment in our understanding of history. While Nineveh was Assyrian, Many of the tablets traced back to Sumerian origins, Nippur, Uruk, and Eridu, home to the earliest known civilization. Among these were 14 tablets from the 24th century BCE, containing the earliest human writings. Etched in cuneiform, these texts include cosmologies, divine genealogies, creation stories, and flood narratives that predate Noah by more than a millennium. Epics like the Enuma Elish, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and the Atrahasis epic introduce the Anunnaki, a pantheon of supreme beings who intervene directly in human affairs. In short, the Sumerians left behind a record that challenges everything we thought we knew about our origins, blending history, myth, and the extraordinary. And now, modern science is finally catching up to their revelations. In these texts, there is mention of a father of all beginnings, an abstract, almost philosophical concept of a prime source of existence. Yet, when it comes to the creation of humanity, the tablets speak of multiple gods acting in councils, deliberating, disagreeing, and even experimenting rather than a singular, all-powerful deity as found in the Book of Genesis. The Sumerian creation story, as preserved in these tablets, presents a strikingly different image of Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden. In the Sumerian texts, the first humans, Adamu meaning man, and Tiamat, or the mother of life, are created by the gods through a process that resembles genetic engineering more than divine fiat. The Anunnaki, led by the god Enki, shape humanity by combining the essence of a god, sometimes referred to as the blood of the gods, with clay from the earth. The Garden of Eden, or Eden, is not described as an ethereal paradise, but as an actual location, a lush, fertile plain in Mesopotamia where the gods dwell and manage their agricultural projects, with humanity created to tend to the fields and relieve the gods of their labor. Interesting, right? Well, it gets more shocking. While mainstream scholars often dismiss the Anunnaki as mythological constructs, part of a symbolic framework to explain natural phenomena, the consistency of these accounts across different Sumerian and later Akkadian texts, as well as the specificity of the language used, such as the repeated phrase, "they who from the heavens came to earth," raises important questions. Archaeological evidence further supports the antiquity and significance of these tablets. Excavations at sites like Nippur by the University of Pennsylvania, under the direction of John Punnett Peters and John Henry Haynes between 1889 and 1891-1900, uncovered vast libraries of cuneiform tablets, including administrative records, hymns, and mythological texts. The famous Nippur tablet, dated to around 2100 BCE, contains the Sumerian king list, which records the reigns of antediluvian kings lasting thousands of years, a notion eerily echoed in Genesis 5, where the patriarchs are said to have lived for centuries. Other tablets describe detailed astronomical observations, such as the Venus tablet of Amisaduqa, which suggests a level of celestial knowledge far beyond what would be expected for an early Bronze Age society. Renowned scholars such as Samuel Noah Kramer, Thorkild Jacobson, and Stephanie Dalley have devoted decades to translating and interpreting these ancient texts. What emerges is a striking continuity of themes, stories, and motifs that would later surface in the Hebrew Bible, Greek mythology, and even Hindu cosmology. Yet, despite these compelling links, the deeper theological significance of these writings has often been minimized. For example, while Kramer recognized the striking similarities between the Sumerian flood tales and the biblical story of Noah, he stopped short of asserting that the Anunnaki were actual beings who shaped human history. Still, the linguistic and narrative echoes are hard to ignore. Take the Hebrew term Elohim, commonly translated as God in the Old Testament. Interestingly, it's a plural noun, hinting at a collective rather than a singular entity, reminiscent of the Sumerian Anunnaki. Could it be that later monotheistic traditions simplified an earlier, far more complex spiritual framework? The deliberate suppression of these alternate narratives may not be coincidental. The Sumerian tablets were unearthed at a time when Western society, heavily influenced by biblical tradition and the nascent sciences of archaeology and anthropology, was shaping a particular vision of human history, one emphasizing linear progress, human exceptionalism, and a singular supreme deity. So who were these mysterious beings really? Sumerian texts like the Enuma Elish and the Atrahasis epic portray the Anunnaki not simply as mythological gods, but as a technologically advanced civilization from a distant planet called Nibiru. Their arrival, traditionally dated to roughly 445,000 years ago, marks a turning point in humanity's ancient timeline. The term Anunnaki roughly translates to those who came from heaven to earth. Within the texts, they are depicted as a council of powerful beings led by figures such as Anu, the sky god and king of the Anunnaki, Enlil, lord of the air, and Enki, god of water and wisdom, often portrayed as a benefactor of humanity. Zecharia Sitchin, whose 1976 book, The 12th Planet, popularized the Nibiru theory, argued that this planet is a distant member of our solar system that enters the inner planets on a 3,600-year elliptical orbit. According to Sitchin's interpretation of Sumerian records, Nibiru's environment was deteriorating, threatening its atmosphere, an uncanny parallel to modern concerns about climate change. To save their world, the Anunnaki devised a plan: disperse gold particles into the atmosphere to create a reflective shield and restore balance. Remarkably, this aligns with modern science. Gold is today a key material in space technology, from spacecraft components to the mirrors of the James Webb Space Telescope. Archaeology hints at its ancient significance. The royal tombs of Ur, excavated in the 1920s by Leonard Woolley, contained a staggering trove of gold artifacts, crowns, jewelry, ritual objects, crafted with extraordinary skill, suggesting a sacred or even extraterrestrial importance. Sumerian texts also reference the gods' mining operations in the Abzu, a subterranean domain tied to Enki, hinting at literal extraction of resources. The Atrahasis epic from around the 17th century BCE describes the Anunnaki rebelling under the strain of gold mining labor. In response, Enki proposed creating a Lulu, a hybrid being combining Anunnaki essence with earthly clay to relieve them of the work. This proto-human creation echoes the biblical Adam and even parallels modern notions of genetic engineering. While mainstream scholars like Thorkild Jacobson view these stories as symbolic and poetic, alternative researchers point to the specificity of details, references to the blood of the gods, and repeated mentions of places like Eridu and the Abzu as evidence of a preserved memory of real events passed down through millennia and veiled in myth. Modern astronomy has given new momentum to the Nibiru hypothesis. In 2016, Caltech astronomers Konstantin Batygin and Michael E. Brown proposed the existence of a massive, unseen planet in the far reaches of our solar system, which they nicknamed Planet 9. Their theory came from observing unusual gravitational patterns affecting distant trans-Neptunian objects, patterns that could be explained by a planet roughly 10 times the mass of Earth, orbiting somewhere between 400 and 800 astronomical units from the Sun. While no one has directly seen Planet 9 yet, its theoretical existence bears a curious resemblance to the Nibiru described in the ancient Sumerian texts. The Anunnaki narrative also raises fascinating questions about humanity's origins. Homo sapiens appeared roughly 300,000 years ago, suddenly equipped with advanced cognitive and social abilities, a puzzle for paleoanthropologists. Traditional explanations point to natural selection, but the abruptness and timing of this great leap forward in human behavior has led some to speculate. Could the Sumerian stories of the Anunnaki hint at an external influence that accelerated our evolution? Sumerian tablets, particularly those unearthed by Sir Leonard Woolley in the 1920s at Ur, alongside the interpretations of Zecharia Sitchin, tell a compelling story. According to these accounts, the Anunnaki arrived on Earth around 445,000 years ago to mine gold and other precious resources needed to stabilize the atmosphere of their home planet, Nibiru. To manage this massive operation, they founded Eridug, meaning home in the far away, in the marshlands of the Persian Gulf. Later known as Eridu, this city was considered the cradle of civilization. Sumerian texts, including the king list, depict Eridu as the first city established by the gods themselves, under the guidance of Enki, the god of wisdom and waters. Enki oversaw Eridug as Earth Station 1, coordinating mining efforts in the Abzu, a region rich in minerals traditionally associated with southern Africa. The Anunnaki employed a subordinate workforce known as the Igigi, often described as younger gods or divine assistants, to handle the grueling labor of digging canals, mining, and maintaining infrastructure. The Atrahasis epic recounts that the Igigi eventually rebelled under the weight of this relentless work, around 300,000 years ago. This Igigi revolt saw the divine workers set fire to their tools, encircle Enlil's dwelling in Nippur, and demand relief. Faced with the collapse of their labor force, Enki proposed a radical solution: create a new being through genetic engineering to serve as a replacement workforce. Sumerian texts describe this moment with profound awe. In the Abzu, Enki and the birth goddess Ninhursag, or Mami, combined Anunnaki essence, interpreted by Sitchin as genetic material, with Earth's clay, symbolizing Homo erectus, to produce a hybrid, the Lulu Amalu, or mixed worker. This being, known as the Adamu, became the prototype for modern humans, with the name strikingly reminiscent of the Hebrew Adam. Archaeology offers subtle but intriguing corroboration. Excavations at Eridu, dating to the 6th millennium BCE, reveal advanced urban planning, sophisticated irrigation, and evidence of organized labor long before writing, appeared around 3200 BCE. The ziggurat at Eridu, dedicated to Enki, underscores the city's central role in Sumerian myth and its reverence for the gods. Genetic research also hints at a sudden bottleneck in human ancestry, consistent with the idea of a singular transformative event. Linguistics adds another layer. The Sumerian word for worship, avod, literally means to work for. Humanity's earliest connection with the gods, it seems, was not purely spiritual. It was labor. Rituals, offerings, and temple economies were structured around service to these divine overseers. Temple complexes at Ur, Uruk, and Eridu were not just religious centers. They functioned as administrative hubs, collecting, storing, and distributing resources. Scholars remain divided. Mainstream figures like Samuel Noah Kramer and Thorkild Jacobson interpret the Anunnaki tales as symbolic, representing social hierarchies and natural forces. Others, Sitchin, Michael Tellinger, and more recently Mauro Biglino, argue that the specificity of names, locations, tools, and materials suggests a record of real events veiled in the mythic language of the Sumerians. Could it be that the ancient Sumerians, in their intricate and poetic texts, preserved fragments of a long-lost epoch? Perhaps one day we'll know for certain. But the story of the Anunnaki doesn't end there. Far from it. Ancient Mesopotamian texts, including the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Book of Giants, hint at a more complex chapter in human history, the interbreeding of Anunnaki and human bloodlines. After early Homo sapiens were created as a labor force, some of the higher-ranking Anunnaki reportedly took human women as mates. The offspring of these unions, known as the Nephilim, were legendary giants of old, a blending of celestial and earthly genetics. Not all Anunnaki approved. Enlil, the chief god of the pantheon, worried about the consequences of these unions, while Enki, the god of wisdom and humanity's creator, had supported hybridization to produce a workforce. Enlil saw the Nephilim as a dangerous deviation, powerful beings who could disrupt the cosmic order and even threaten Nibiru, the Anunnaki's home planet. Genesis describes the Nephilim as mighty men of old, men of renown, a description that reflects their extraordinary abilities. Archaeological and historical timelines align with these accounts. Between roughly 3000 and 2000 BCE, Mesopotamia experienced population growth, urban expansion, monumental architecture, and increasing social stratification. Many scholars interpret these legendary banishments from paradise as metaphors for environmental and societal upheaval, such as deforestation, overpopulation, or the collapse of earlier idyllic landscapes. The Nephilim themselves were fallen ones. The Hebrew root NPL means to fall, capturing their ambiguous status, both divine and mortal. The Sumerian king list mentions rulers with impossibly long lifespans, such as Alulim, who allegedly ruled Eridu for 28,800 years, a possible echo of the Nephilim's age and influence. Excavations at sites like Tel El Mukayyar and Nippur uncovered fragments of epics such as the Enuma Elish and Atrahasis, revealing a cosmic power struggle between Enlil and Enki over humanity. Enlil, wary of the Nephilim and the growing independence of humans, allegedly pushed for a catastrophic reset, the Great Flood, aimed at controlling population and reasserting Anunnaki dominance. Sumerian texts describe Nibiru as a massive celestial body on a highly elliptical orbit approaching the inner solar system roughly every 3,600 years. Each passage, according to the myths, brought catastrophic disruptions, solar instability, gravitational anomalies, and dramatic geological and climate shifts on Earth. This concept aligns with flood stories across civilizations, the Mesopotamian deluge, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and the biblical account of Noah. Archaeological layers in the Near East, dated around 2900 BCE by scholars like Leonard Woolley and Max Mallowan, reveal evidence of widespread flooding and abrupt cultural upheaval. Sumerian and Akkadian records describe astronomical anomalies, solar flares, erratic magnetic activity, and increased sunspots thought to herald Nibiru's approach. These events may have weakened Earth's magnetic field, melted ice caps, and triggered sea level rise, providing a natural explanation for the flood myths. Enlil, frustrated by human noise and defiance, allegedly unleashed the flood to curb the rebellious population. Yet other Anunnaki, including Enki, sympathized with humans and secretly warned the hero Atrahasis, an echo of the biblical Noah, to build a vessel and survive. Modern science lends intriguing parallels. Earth's magnetic poles are not static. Paleomagnetic studies show rapid shifts and excursions, such as the Lachamp event around 41,000 years ago, which triggered major climatic disruptions. While earlier than the proposed Nibiru cycle, these findings suggest that sudden planetary and environmental upheavals are possible, events that ancient observers may have recorded as mythic cataclysms. Modern solar physics adds an intriguing layer to the Nibiru story. Scientists have observed regular cycles of solar maxima and minima, accompanied by sunspots, solar flares, and coronal mass ejections, events capable of affecting Earth's magnetosphere and climate. Ancient astronomers, from Babylon to classical Greece, meticulously tracked these phenomena, understanding their potential for catastrophe. Today, we recognize that solar storms can disrupt electrical grids and increase radiation exposure, echoing the ancient fears associated with Nibiru's approach. The aftermath of the Great Flood also left a lasting mark on human culture. Rebuilding civilization required new social structures, religious practices, and architectural innovations. Ziggurats, for example, rose across Mesopotamia as humanity's attempt to reconnect with the divine, to seek protection, and to regain favor after the cataclysm. This period also saw the codification of laws and administrative systems, like the Code of Ur-Nammu, designed to restore order and justice following widespread societal upheaval. Viewed this way, the Great Flood becomes more than a story of divine wrath. Ancient warnings about solar anomalies, magnetic shifts, and melting ice caps find parallels in modern science, while the actions of the Anunnaki reflect early human concerns about balance, control, and survival. These stories continue to challenge how we see our place in a universe shaped by forces both visible and hidden. Sumerian accounts of humanity's origins present a narrative radically different from mainstream history and religious tradition. They challenge conventional assumptions about our beginnings, development, and relationship with the divine. Instead of a slow, gradual evolution driven solely by natural selection, the Sumerian texts describe a sudden leap in intelligence and societal complexity, coinciding with the intervention of the Anunnaki. Archaeology supports some of these extraordinary claims. Cities like Uruk and Eridu, dating to around 3,500 BCE, reveal advanced urban planning, metallurgy, irrigation, writing, and governance, knowledge seemingly far beyond what local development alone could explain. According to the Sumerians, these innovations were gifts from the gods. Their gods were not singular or omnipotent, but polytheistic beings with human-like traits, ambitions, and conflicts. Humanity, in this view, was the product of genetic experiments and political maneuvering among these powerful entities, a stark contrast to the monotheistic narratives that dominate Abrahamic religions. Scholars remain divided. Samuel Noah Kramer, a pioneer in Sumerian studies, regarded these texts as some of the most important historical documents ever found, but interpreted the gods as mythological figures rather than literal extraterrestrials. In contrast, Zecharia Sitchin, author of The 12th Planet, argued that the Anunnaki were real beings, ancient astronauts who genetically engineered humanity. His work sparked debate and inspired a wave of curiosity about ancient knowledge and its hidden implications. Archaeological evidence adds nuance to the debate. The precision of ziggurats, temples, and canals suggests advanced engineering and astronomical knowledge. The invention of cuneiform enabled complex administration and record-keeping, while artifacts like the Standard of Ur hint at an early civilization deeply invested in technology, order, and knowledge, potentially remnants of Anunnaki guidance. Modern genetics also offers intriguing hints. The presence of Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA in humans confirms interbreeding with other hominids. The Anunnaki hypothesis takes this concept further, suggesting extraterrestrial involvement, prompting questions about the origins of human intelligence, consciousness, and societal sophistication. Whatever the truth may be, it invites us to rethink humanity's story and to wonder whether the past holds secrets we have yet to fully understand. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through the mysteries of the Anunnaki, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe so you won't miss our next uploads. And while you're here, check out the video on your screen. It's absolutely unbelievable.